Hello, we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Propel. I'm so excited tonight. Cannot wait to get into tonight's conversation with my very special guest. But wanted to just again say welcome and thank you. If this is your first time tuning into Propel, welcome to our teleconference series. If you have been on with some of our previous guests in times past, welcome back and thank you for being back with us again for Propel, this teleconference series that's really centered around facilitating leading edge conversations with limitless leaders. And I've got a limitless leader scheduled to talk with us tonight about being able to wake up, rise up, and live up. Super duper excited, and I'm going to be introducing her here in just a moment. But my name is Stephanie Morrow. I'm founder at Transformation Living Systems, which is a personal development and training company really centered around the mission of building women from the inside out. And so this teleconference series is one of the ways that we do that at Transformation Living Systems. So when we think about what it means to propel or to move forward or to go forward or be pushed forward, and then we think about that subtitle, leading edge conversations. I often say that it is the leading edge where life really happens. And unfortunately, many of us we find ourselves tethered to our comfort zones. And so we don't ever make our way out to the leading edge. Or if we do, maybe things are uncertain or things are happening and, we're not so sure. And so we move back to the comfort zone. But I believe that it is the leading edge that is the place of destiny. I believe that's where God's divine desires are for our lives. I believe that's where we connect with purpose. And I believe that what is next, and whatever that looks like for you, if you're listening tonight, I believe that it's out on the leading edge. And so I hope that this conversation tonight begins to call you out toward that leading edge. And then if we think about limitless leaders, I talk about this every time I do this broadcast, and I don't think I could say it enough, is when we think about the woman that is the limitless leader, she is not the woman that has not had challenges. She has not had some obstacles and barriers. She is the woman who has made a decision to move around or to move through those barriers, those challenges, to make her way out to the leading edge because she knows that's where transformation takes place. She knows that's where destiny unfolds. She knows that's where she connects with what's next for her life. And so I have assembled just a powerhouse group of limitless leaders, women that God has allowed me to connect with over the years in this work, to really share this space and to share these conversations with you tonight. And so I hope that you find them valuable. As I said, really my goal is that something be really kind of brought alive in you. Even if it's just one thought or one idea, or if we're able to expand that thinking just a little bit, then our work here on Propel is done. And so with that, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce this difference maker, this history maker in heels, who is going to be talking with us tonight, Miss Sheila Reynolds. So Sheila is a licensed professional counselor, certified coach, empowerment speaker, and founder of Wake Up, Rise Up, Live Up, which is a movement that is jolting women into an awakening of who they are called to be. Sounds like what I just talked about, right? With strength, honesty, and an unquenchable fire to see women soar, Sheila is boldly calling the woman who has checked the traditional boxes in her life, yet she knows that there is more. Sheila has woke up, she rose up, and now she is living up. She helps other women to now do the same. Her private coaching programs and immersive retreats create these safe and sacred places, incubators where women can transform. So without further ado, guys, welcome to the Propel virtual stage tonight. My good friend Sheila Reynolds, all the way from Atlanta.
Hello, Stephanie, and hello, all of you out there that are listening this evening. I am absolutely thrilled to be on Propel with my super friend. That's what I call Stephanie. She is my super friend, and I just honor you, Stephanie, and I just love, love, love you and the work that you're doing. I call Stephanie She is a truth teller. And I tell you, I love to hear you speak, Stephanie, and I love the wisdom that you have and that God has given you just to kind of unlock things within us. So I'm excited about tonight to have a conversation with you.
Thank you. That was so sweet, Sheila. Thank you. Look, I was like, oh my God, are you talking about me?
Yes, you.
Listen up. I had the opportunity to meet Sheila. Don't lie, Sheila. I can't remember. 2014,
2016.
was it 16?
Mm-hmm.
So 2016, we were part of a business coaching program there. And that was really the first time that, you know, Gina and I had really invested in that type of coaching and training, you know, in the entrepreneurial space. And while so many things have changed and just evolved and, you know, all of that, because you don't stay how you start in business, or at least you shouldn't. That might be another broadcast.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But, you know, so much has changed since then. But when I go back to those 3 or 4 days that we spent together, really in that incubator with that group and with that team, that work, that signature work has just been really the kind of the conduit that has really just created all of what you see happening and unfolding and unraveling. And I'm so grateful because I don't even really remember how I ended up there, Sheila. Like, seriously,
Wow.
met somebody and heard something and somebody, and so just like literally a series of events just began to unfold. And then here we find ourselves in this business boot camp with these other limitless leaders and entrepreneurs and visionaries and, you know, women doing all kinds of amazing things from all over our country that we never connected. And it's so crazy because it's like those cohorts created covenant, you know, with the people there. And she was part of that covenant group that I connected with that weekend, along with some other amazing men and women that we still keep in contact with, whose journeys we are watching, you know, just ever unfold and evolve. And it's just been a real blessing. And I'll say this before we get into tonight's conversation. Everything that I learned, that, you know, that I find myself drawing from that constantly still, you know, just little bits and pieces. And I would say that it was definitely a leading edge for us, because there were things happening and being discussed that we had no idea. We were like, what is this?
Exactly.
What? Is that what happened? Automated emails. I mean, just all kinds of things that we didn't know. It wasn't our work. But so much of the foundation that was really poured that weekend is still with us. And it has been just a part of the brand and the movement and the expansion and the growth. And so I'm saying that to say, for you guys that are watching tonight, if you are interested really in moving to because there is a next level. There's always a next level. You know, to find someone, there is someone or a group of someones, they have the keys, they have the missing pieces. And so begin to connect yourself in ways, you know, with those people or those, you know, entities that can really help you begin to move forward. So much was unlocked that weekend, which is where Wake Up, Rise Up, Lift Up was birthed.
That's right.
That is the weekend that Transformation Living Systems was pushed out in the earth. And so here we are years later, and those babies are still growing and getting teeth, and hair fell out and it's growing back. And one is walking, the other one fell down, and you know, that's she's learning how to walk again, or just whatever. Just so much. So when you think about the movement, you know, that God has really given you this vision for, in terms of really just turning that light switch on for women, you know, connect that and talk about what that looks like for you in terms of being a limitless leader.
Wow, Stephanie, I tell you, and I'm so glad that you kind of led me in this direction from where we began. And I just want to affirm what you said. And I want to affirm that for those of you that are listening, in terms of your person. You know, if you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy, you know, they talk about, you know, that's my person, your person. There is a person that's destined and designed for you. and that person has the keys and the door that you will be able to walk through, and that will help to fulfill those dreams and those visions that are within you. So I want to affirm that as we begin. And I think as a limitless leader, there are three things that I think about concerning that as it relates to wake up, rise up, live up.
Let me get my hand, Sheila. Now, I didn't mention it. I don't think it's in the bio, but Sheila is also a minister of the gospel, so she always is gonna pull a text. There's gonna be 3 talking points. I don't know if she's gonna take him to the cross tonight or not. I just don't know.
Oh God!
So I'm getting my pen, and I advise you to do the same. So let's talk about these 3 points, Sheila.
Girl, honey, I never know how I'm going to flow either. I never know. But there are 3 things that came to me as I thought about that. And there are 3 C's. And I know you do the C things too, Stephanie. But it's courage, congruence, and consistency. Oh. Courage, congruence, and consistency. We talked about wake up, rise up, live up. And that being the brand that was birthed in 2016. And it was all about waking up and realizing, number one, that I've been asleep, asleep to the power, asleep to who I really was and the manifestation of that. And then once I really align myself and stop minimizing who I am, and minimizing, the gifts of grace that God has blessed me with and that has blessed you with, and really begin to see, the importance of me waking up to that, then I begin to rise up in the purpose for which I was born and for which I was ordained. And then I start living up to the call of God, and then I move on into bloom. So that takes courage. And when I thought about courage, I looked the word up, and it said courage is the quality shown by someone who decides to do something difficult or dangerous, even though they may be afraid.
Yeah. All right. And I want to stop you right there, Sheila, to unpack the D word. You just said something that is so crucial in defining courage, and that is the person who decides. I started this broadcast by talking about it is, the leading edge is a place that it's a decision, moving out of the comfort zone. And here's the reality: comfort zones really aren't all that comfortable. So I don't even know why they're called comfort zones. They're called uncomfortable zones. It's the biggest oxymoron there is. But there's nothing comfortable about the comfort zone. But it's a decision that one, and it's about having the courage. I love the 3 C's. Having the courage to really step out from where it is that you find yourself, or where that you've found yourself, sometimes for years, for decades.
That's right.
That sleepiness.
That's right.
People are just asleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I call it the walking dead. So many are just going through life asleep, and they're okay with it. You're asleep. Everyone around you is asleep. Everybody in your circle is asleep. And one of my good friends said, I heard him say before, some of y'all are too sleepy for success. Like you success. There's a science to success. Yes. So you got to wake up.
That's right.
And so you can't. You don't stumble into. These places. You don't, oh my God, I don't know how I got here. Like it is right? It is that congruence. Talk a little bit about congruence.
Oh my God. In terms of being able to be congruent, I think about often we have heard, and those of you that are listening that, may have been in church for a while, and we always hear about the greatness of God, that's within us, the power that we have, but when we look at our lives and when we look at the manifestation of what we're living, all right, and what we're saying out of our mouth, does that match? All right. So then something is out of alignment there. And so that's an indication that perhaps you are asleep you know, and you may not even realize. Come on, Stephanie. I know you want to talk, girl.
I know how far we're going to get, y'all. We only got 60 minutes, and I think I'm about down to about 47. I don't know about this tonight. We might have to do a part 1 and a part 2. But that is one of the biggest, I think one of the biggest opportunities for awakening. Because many of us we were given a group of ideals and beliefs. We never challenged them. We never internalized them. We never sought to apply them. We just accepted. And then we became parrots. We started saying back what we've heard said all this time. And I'm like, knowing what I know now, like it is shameful, the boxes that people have got in. Like it's heartbreaking to see some people's concepts of God. You know, I often, haven't been traveling much this year because of the pandemic, but when I'm out and I just see the wonder and the beauty and just the glory and the majesty of God at work in the earth. And I'm thinking, a God that created this.
Yeah.
And you come together on a Sunday morning for 2 hours and put him in a little bitty Bible.
Yeah.
A little set of rules that you created that ain't got nothing to do with who he is or what he is.
There you go.
That is, to me, that is the epitome of this misalignment that you're talking about. And it's heartbreaking. And I talked about it a little bit earlier. This is off the subject, but it's really on the subject. I was sharing earlier this week, I think maybe even last week, with just all of the turmoil that's happening in our nation and, the racial divide and the political unrest and, just all of the craziness happening in that realm. And it really hurt my heart because I said, you know what? The church is at the core of some of this, right?
Yes.
That how can an institution that is using the same compass be pointing people in so many different directions?
Absolutely.
And let them tell it.
Yeah.
I say them because it is them. Tell it. They've all got a monopoly on God. Like we're right, and people. And I said that to say people are highly impressionable, and so they go along with what is said, especially when things are promulgated in an institution like the church. People go along with whatever is done or said, never challenge, never think. Never say. Well, something about that is off-putting. Something about that is not congruent. So I get that, and I can be in that space because there has been such an awakening in my own personal spiritual journey over these last few years that has really challenged a lot of what we were given, and we were given and we were taught in love. Right? They loved us. They loved. They thought what they were doing. But here's the reality, Sheila. Half of the truth is a whole lot. And we were given a lot of half truths.
Yeah.
I said all of that to say, thus many among us are asleep.
Yes, absolutely. And there's just such a disconnect. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's really troubling. You know what I'm saying? When, we are saying one thing and saying we believe something, but then our actions are totally different and we can't see it, So we're still talking about limitless leaders, right?
Yes.
So, moving into this, I had to have the courage to step out, just like many of us, and we have to do it afraid and do it with the limited or what we might see as a limited vision. They're like, well, God, I don't really understand it all, or maybe I don't have all the resources, but it takes courage. And then it takes being in alignment with what you say, because a lot of times your courage is going to come by your congruence. And then it's consistency. Just continue to show up. That's what I did. I just had to continue to show up. And as you continue to show up, like what you're doing, Stephanie, you get momentum. You begin to get more clarity. More doors begin to open for you. So I think that's the formula. Of sorts.
Oh, that's good, Sheila. I got to stop and unpack a little bit about this.
Okay, unpack it.
I love it. I think the consistency, and like you said, the momentum is a product of the consistency. And some of you that are watching tonight might be struggling with consistency, just consistently showing up to do the work, and whatever that looks like for you. You know what that, you know who you are, and you know what that might mean. And sometimes you'll let yourself off the hook, or you'll say, maybe you're thinking that you don't have a huge audience, or there's not a lot of people depending on me, or if I don't answer the call, or do the book, or do the podcast, or start the business, or whatever it is, everyone has an it. And then you may be thinking in your mind and rationalizing in your mind, well, it doesn't really matter. Or I've heard people say, well, everybody's doing it. Or, all kinds of, just letting themselves off the hook left and right. And here's the thing that helped me to begin to build that momentum and that consistency. And it was coming into the realization and understanding that there were ears that were appointed to my voice.
Yes.
Okay. There were ears that were specifically appointed to my voice. And so every time I mute my voice, every time I sit down on the gift, every time I don't show up, every time I play it small and say, it doesn't really matter, that there is, it's almost like someone out there, you have their piece. I'm someone's person. You talked about everybody having a person. And so if I don't show up, then someone's out there looking to connect. And, you hear over here and you say, oh, maybe that's not it. You hear this one, you say, oh, maybe that. But you know how it feels when you connect with the one or with that voice. And so if you're having a problem, or, just having some challenges with being consistent, and consistent can be something really, really small. I think a lot of times too, we hear it, Sheila, and we think that it's something big.
No.
I've got to create this huge, thing that I chain myself to, and it's got to be this way and it's got to be that way. I'm an advocate of being gentle with yourself and, yourself, but also holding yourself accountable and, landing somewhere in the middle of those two spaces.
Yeah.
But create something around what it is that you feel like you've been called to do, that you can consistently show up for.
Oh, and I've got the
experience.
Excellent, Stephanie. I have the perfect example, because this is the foundation of how I got here. I had gone through a divorce, and my life had shifted and changed so significantly. And I was just really lost as to where do I go now? Because my whole vision was established in my mind within that marriage. I had a vision for a lifetime. I didn't get married at 45 to be divorced at 50, So what I felt God leading me to do was, he said, begin to pray every Friday, begin to just take some time with me. So I began to pray every Friday. And then from that, he said, start a Bible study, do a small group Bible study in your complex. I started doing that. And as I began to do that and invited people to come, I began to see how important it was that I do what he called me to do, because it was meeting their needs. I mean, over and beyond what I had even established. And then from there, he said, begin to do a prayer breakfast. So then I did, and it kept growing. And then from there, he said, move into the Life Changers group, per se. And that's when I began to meet, I went through the business boot camp. And it just kept snowballing. And so, just to affirm what you said, it doesn't have to be something big that you start with. Just start with that little something that you feel in your spirit, in your heart, and just step out into that. And then it will just continue to grow and to expand and become.
And I love that you said that. And I think it's so important. I talk a lot about the growth factor and really committing ourselves to this growth factor in life. And I didn't know that then, that I was committed to a growth factor, but I was always thinking about down the road or down the line, or okay, I don't have all the pieces today, but this feels good today. This shoe fits today. So I'm going to wear it today, and I'm going to allow next year's shoes to come when they come. And that's hard to do because we want guarantees. We want to know that if I invest this amount of money working with a coach, that I'm going to, make this in return. If I have money, write the book, I'm going to sell 2,500 copies the first week. We want these guarantees. Yeah. And there may be people that are telling you that they can give them to you. They're lying. That's what they're right. And so really just beginning to show up consistently in those small things, and then committing the work to the growth factor. It's going to grow. You don't have a baby and it stays aside. My kids are 8 and 10, almost 9. They don't look how they did. God, I wish they would sometimes. They're not the kids that we brought into the earth 8 and 10 years ago. Like they've grown, they've evolved, they're this, and that's, think of your work, whatever it is that you've been called to do as a baby. Yeah. You have the baby and you intend that the baby is going to grow and walk and have teeth and, eventually drive and hopefully get a job and do all that other stuff, right? Yeah. And so it's the same kind of thinking. So you don't have a baby and then leave the hospital today and say, oh God, it's time for this child to go to college tomorrow.
That's good, Stephanie.
A lot of nurturing, a lot in that process. And so just submit to the process. Just realize that you never get it done. There's no such thing as arriving. I learned that, and that has been just the most freeing thing for me because I don't ever have to get to a place to feel like, I'm in a rush to get to this because when I get here, I will have arrived. When I do this, when I make this amount of money, when I have this kind of house, when I have this kind of car, when I get this degree, then I will have arrived. Like it's everything because expansion is our nature. And what I know is that as we're all built the same.
Yep.
That's why this thing about comfort zones, it's unnatural.
Yes. Wow.
This thing about being stuck, unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
We were not created that way. That is not. That was not our DNA.
No.
Right? And so just giving yourself over to the growth factor. So Sheila, think about this question, still in this vein with this great conversation, guys. I'm good. I got to check my time, Sheila, because I don't want to. We got 32 minutes. We're doing good.
All right, good.
So think about, that work, that it, whatever it is. And I believe that we were all called to it. And the other thing about it is not necessarily a business. It may not necessarily be entrepreneurship. We're in a culture where we're taught that everybody needs to start a business and quit. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that part of you, that core, that thing that calls out, that thing that you are, yearning to just have realized and manifested and just to be able to touch whatever that feels like. For some people, Sheila, that's cooking.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
For somebody else, that might be, in the beauty industry, makeup and hair and fashion and helping women feel like the gamut is it's just a huge continuum, The other part of that is sometimes when we were raised in church, we were made to think that it has to be something, we got the fivefold and you pick one. And
Come on now.
Once again, I think it's 9 billion, how many people on earth, and we all got to fall under one of the umbrellas of the fivefold. Like that's all. Like he created all of this business in the cosmos, and I got to assign myself to one of 5 roles.
Yep. Right. So, limiting it.
Taking off the limits. So women are looking to connect with their that fire. What are some of the challenges that they face? What are some of the challenges that you faced in really kind of just paring down, it's this, it's not that. I thought it was that, but this feels better. Like how do women begin to navigate toward that thing and kind of begin to use that process of elimination?
Oh, that's really, really good. And I think for me, And I can speak about me, and then I can kind of maybe talk about some of the other challenges that might be out there. But I think for me, one of my biggest challenges was comparing myself.
There's another C.
I know. There you go. Another C. Absolutely. Comparing myself and, really trying to, understand myself as relates to what I saw. And not really being, not needing to really be freed up to be who I am in the midst of something that was so different, because I was moving from one place, which was, I spent many years in the ministry. Now I'm in business, I'm in the marketplace.
And there's a difference.
What's that, Stephanie?
There is a difference.
Yes, there is a difference. And so really trying to, understand that and position myself, and then just have the courage to be okay with who I am, even if it doesn't look like anybody else, because being who I am and being who you are is your wealthy place,
Yeah.
And it's the place where you will shine the most. And then I'm going to tie that back to courage, because I liked Brene Brown's definition of courage, which, and I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to move on. But she talks about how the root of the word courage is core, C-O-R. And that's what's that?
We talked about that. We just talked about it before we started the broadcast tonight.
Oh, yes. And so courage is a hard word. And so in one of its earliest form, the word courage meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart, which means, it takes courage to really be who you are. That's what courage is, to be fully and authentically who you are, and showing up that way. So I think that can be, and I know that was a challenge for me, Stephanie. I hope I answered your question without going off.
It's just so good. The thing, the comparison. I mean, there's a whole body of research around just the power of comparison. And it's so damaging. I think, when we look at this fast-paced society and, in a world where we've got social media stars and everyone, they've got their value system, because the next question is about values. And so where we have misplaced our values and we are looking for likes and, all this connection with people. Well, girl, let me tell you something. I bank at Bank of America, and I ain't never been able to deposit no likes.
Come on.
Those of you that are looking to be, to be welcomed in that space, and internet, like, it doesn't. It's a perception. It's like a smoke. It's an illusion, and it's not real. And it's not there. Like, there is nothing there's not real. Like, I am thankful for social media and things like that. I've been able to connect with people that I normally, who would probably have never crossed paths with, but it is not the standard. And we're in time where people have, they are comparing themselves to what they've done. And Sheila's doing a retreat, so I have to go do a retreat. Doing a book, well, I have to go, so you feel all this pressure to perform and to create based on what you think the call requires. And the reality is, sometimes you are the prototype. I'm always looking for a certain type of thing. And sometimes I find it. And what I find is that when I can't find it, I become it.
That's it. I love it. That's
when
good.
I become it. So I want to say to those of you that are watching, even those of you that may be watching this replay tomorrow or next week or next month, if you can't find it, become it. There is just like we all have different fingerprints, like your mark in this earth is highly unique. And if you are just consumed with insulting God because you want your mark to look like somebody else's mark, you're going to miss the mark. You're going to miss opportunity to make impact. You're going to miss opportunity to engage in the work because you're too busy. One of my good friends, Dr. Kimberly, calls it the spirit of copy and paste. You try to
copy and paste.
Dr. Kimberly calls it the spirit of copy and paste. You want to somebody's stuff and put your name on it and put your
Come
picture,
on.
like there's no impact there, because we are our most powerful selves when we are operating as our authentic selves.
That's
That
right.
Sheila just talked about, the necessity.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a luxury. The authenticity is a necessity for success, because people will smell you out a mile away and say, "Oh, I really like Sheila, but she's really, I don't, she's got this thing where she's trying to be like so and so, or she's trying. It's just something just off-putting." Like, people can smell inauthenticity a mile away. So
Absolutely.
don't bother, don't worry about it. I think the last time I did this broadcast, this came up again, and I was talking to my guest about Oprah Winfrey tells a story about how she would try to emulate Barbara Walters when she got
Yeah.
got into the industry, and Barbara Walters would be talking like this, doing this and that, and she said she'd read that Barbara read all of her copy, cold, like she didn't do, any test runs, or that was her thing. Well, Barbara was in chapter 20, Oprah was in chapter 1. That was a problem. And Barbara and Oprah said one night she's on live TV and talking about a storm in Canada.
Right.
Girl, it's Canada.
Oh, God.
That day she vowed to be who she was in that industry.
Yeah.
There's something wrong when I'm calling Canada. And that happens when you're out of the young kids used to call it staying in your lane.
Yeah.
So get in your lane and just stay there. Like, there's grace there, there's provision there. Like, everything that you need is in your lane, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about values. What are 3 of your most cherished values, and how do those values, Sheila, show up in your work?
I love it. I love it. Well, I think one of my foundational values that shows up in my life and in my work is love. Because we have to love ourselves, love God, to be able to love one another. And love, it covers all, and it is the greatest thing that we can have within us. If we can allow it to transform our lives and operate from that place. And I think it's really, really important that it's not just that we love others, but we have to learn to love ourselves. And when we love ourselves, we can more effectively love others. And so when we're loving ourselves, what does that look like? That means that we take care of ourselves. And we don't allow ourselves to be misused and abused. It's just so much that goes along with that allows us to be healthy, and being healthy is so important to me. So love is very important to me. Another value is excellence. I believe in doing things in excellence, and sometimes I would get that confused with perfection, but and there is a difference. But I believe, that shows up in the work that I do, and how I serve others, and the importance of giving my best to them and providing something that is quality, and not necessarily just throwing something out there.
Sheila, just stop right there, guys. All of that they say that part, that is branding. Okay? That's branding. That is brand. It's not your website. It's not your logos. It's not all the cute little things that you send out to your email list. Like, those things are great and they have their place. But you just talked about excellence, and there is a difference between excellence and perfection. And perfection. And so that spirit of excellence, how you do, that excellence is your reputation. What do people say about you when you're not in the room? When Sheila is at home in Atlanta, Georgia, and someone that encountered her, through one of her retreats or events is somewhere in Los Angeles, California, and says, I went to this Wake Up, Rise Up, Live Up retreat. Oh my God, it was phenomenal. Yada, yada, yada. That is your brand. And I think that we've got it confused for those people that are moving into the marketplace, or like you said, making that transition from the marketplace, from ministry to the marketplace, or, taking on these entrepreneurial endeavors. And we get out there because it's crowded out here. It's a jungle.
Yeah.
And it's a lot out here. So you see a lot and you hear a lot and you feel like you have to, do what is happening. But it's great. It's better to do one or two small things really, really well
Absolutely.
than having your hand in a million things and your reputation is mud with people because you have not delivered, a quality product or a quality experience, or you've not delivered excellence that, keeps the customer coming back, that kind of thing. So I just had to interject that because I think a lot of times for people that are looking to come out to that leading edge and they've got something that they want to, almost think about casting a net in the water.
Yeah.
So they're ready to cast their net, so to speak. This is a piece that people don't talk about a lot. And I have just communicated myself from so many people in business that do not have integrity. They do not operate in excellence. They don't understand lines. They don't, it's not worth it. So I'm not going to do business. I'm not going to refer anybody. I'm not going to endorse anybody who's not operating in a spirit of excellence.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important that we know that's all of that she just said. That's
Amen. Amen. And the last thing, Stephanie, is growth. I'm just committed to growth, because we should always be growing, and we should always be learning. So I think that that's a piece that's really important to me as I've entered into the second half of my life.
Yeah.
And my focus is those women that, we're in the second half of our lives and we're looking at, what's next for us. There is a next for you too. You don't just have to just, say, oh, just let everybody else do it. They're younger, they've got, no, there still is something in you too, and there is a next level for you as well. So growth is the lab value.
Yeah. And I think that, as an educator by trade and my spiritual gift, I think it is so important that we really understand this issue about growth. And the growth is not we're saying, oh, I want to learn a new language, so I'm going to take this class. Like, that's great. That could be a type of growth, but it's a mindset. Like, it is. Honestly, it helped me really, Sheila, to take myself off the hook for feeling like I always had to have all the answers or get it right the first time. And it doesn't mean that you don't hold yourself to a certain standard, but I'm always giving myself the room and the space and the expectation that I'm going to be able to grow into this space. I'm going to be able to grow into, whatever. When we moved in this house, we said, we're going to buy this house, but we're going to grow into this space. We're going to grow into, and so that growth mentality now becomes a part of everything that you do. So you don't have to be on edge if you don't have all the answers, or if you can't get to the end and put the period. Just be okay with growing your way there and knowing that it's a process and that it looks different. Some of us grow at faster rates than others. I'm an educator. Some of the babies need additional help. There's a population of what we call slow learners. So some learn at a slower pace than others. And that's okay. So we've got accommodations for those. And so, but it's all a process. And it's just ever unfolding. And so you've got to be committed to, I think, the process more so than the product in terms of
like that. Yeah.
You talked a lot about love. One of my mentors said many years ago, and it made sense then, but I'm in a different space of consciousness and understanding. And so it really makes sense now. And she says, if love is not the motivation for what you're doing, don't do it. So those people that are getting into, these endeavors and things like that, because you've been lured in about the money and I can help you make this and, just all these kinds of, just the gimmicks, whatever. When the money didn't come, then your interest is gone. Mm-hmm. You're not so committed. That consistency that's needed is not there. Your attention isn't even on that thing anymore. So we have to really make sure that what our motives are for doing a thing, that they are purified, that they are pure and not perverted. Because if the motive is perverted, then the moment that something, comes up, hey, we're out and we're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
do what we wanted. So I
Yeah.
like. So Sheila, I want you to think about this as we start going toward the end. What
Sure.
Rachel will call the closing. I want you to think about there are so many issues going on in just our world and our society. Are there any issues or causes
Yeah.
or anything like that that you really hold near and dear to your heart that you've aligned your work with or your mission to, either personally or professionally? What are those things, and what are you thinking about now?
I think what I think about and what I always think about, but I'm thinking about it even more so now. And probably this just aligns with me being a counselor, and a minister. I think about being healthy, being emotionally healthy, being mentally healthy, being spiritually healthy, being physically healthy right now. I just think about the health of our beingness at this point in time and all the things that are happening in our world and how it has impacted us and how it continues to impact us, negatively, specifically, and what it does to us, and then how to remain healthy in such toxicity. Is that the way I'm saying? In such a toxic environment. So I think those are the things that I think about. And that's why I'm really about helping women to find the positive within themselves and
Oh,
to
yes.
celebrate who they are, because I don't think we celebrate ourselves enough. I really don't. I think we are really hard on ourselves, as women, and we don't stop and take a look at, wow, you know what I'm saying? I did do that. I am really good at this. I mean, and really acknowledge that and really and celebrate yourself and allow yourself to be celebrated.
Yeah, I think that I like that too, because I feel like, well, if we can't do that for ourselves, then we can't do it for others, because we can't give what we don't have. And that's
Mhm.
why I really learned to start extending myself so much grace, because
Yeah.
there's a way that I can turn grace off and on and say, oh, I'm not ready for Sheila, but when it comes to me, you don't.
Yes.
And so it, like I said, it doesn't mean that you don't have, parameters and standards and
Right.
things like that. But I think you learn the healthy balance between the two. And
Yeah.
I think it's hard sometimes for women to be able to, kind of find that middle ground. Yes, I'm going to challenge myself and, push myself to do more, be more, accomplish more, experience more.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm going to stop and smell the roses along the way.
Absolutely.
Accomplished this, I've moved through that, I've come out of that,
Yeah.
that list goes on and on and on. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, what I call this notion of living in duality. I'm here in the now, but I'm also there in terms of what's next. And so I
Yes.
think about what's next. And I've got goals and aspirations and hopes and dreams. Those things are great. But hey, I'm going to stop right here and push pause and
That's
celebrate,
right. Absolutely.
what's
Absolutely.
happening. And like you said, just being able to stay mentally healthy and emotionally
Mm. Mm.
at a
So
time
important.
where there is just toxicity is on the rise, is to the top
Absolutely.
where you turn. And
Yeah.
so I think that goes back to, you talked a lot earlier about alignment. And I think that is part of alignment, is being able to feel when you've got too many outside forces and voices in
Mhm.
your healthy space, and being
Mm.
able to say no. That's what I call creating boundaries and creating
Yep.
barriers and setting limits, right?
Mhm.
That's part of that love too. Self-love is not just
Yep.
we're done getting
Absolutely.
yourself out to eat. Those things are great. I love spending time by myself. Hadn't
Mm.
always understood that, but girl, when I was traveling with work before the pandemic, you should have saw me get into that airport some days.
Yes.
Going to work, but I'm also going to go have some me time.
That's right. That's right. It's
It is.
important.
Learning how to say no is part of setting
Yes.
boundaries.
Yes.
All of those.
So
Yeah. So Sheila, I want you to think about this. If nothing else happens this year, and we are like really on the tail end of this year, what
yeah.
are three things that will have made 2020 a success for you?
Wow. I think one way I want to answer that question, Stephanie, is one thing that this year has helped me to see, and I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. This has been a very challenging year for many people,
Mhm.
but for some people, they have they've thrived in this time. All right. So what I'm saying in that is, um, not all the time when things are going in a negative way or in a bad way, it doesn't have to be that way for you. All
Yes.
right. And I think that's one thing that I'm seeing, because this has been a challenging year. It has been a difficult year, but in many ways for me, it's been a pivotal year for me. It's been a year in which things have thrived for me, in this very difficult and challenging season. Doors have opened up. So I want to challenge people, even in your most challenging circumstances, in your difficult times, this may be the time of your greatest blessing and your greatest miracle. And so if you can have a mindset that keeps you focused and say, this doesn't have to take
Yes.
me down. All right. I can use this and I can leverage this. And then the key word this year has been pivot. I can pivot, and things can open up for me, because you are just that bad. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? What's on the inside of you is just that great. And so if you can take the time to use the time to sit with yourself and
Mhm.
hear from God, oh my God, there's some great things
Yeah.
that can occur for you
I
in
know
this time.
so
So I
many
don't know if I answered
people.
the question, but that's my response to the
It
question.
is. It is. And basically, guys, Sheila is saying it is possible that you can prosper in the pandemic. Like,
Yes,
I
you can.
know that people have created the dead sentence, they're glued in front of the news and they're watching the number of cases.
Yeah.
They're watching the circus happening at the White House, and they're watching like all these things. And I agree that I have seen more people, including myself, be able to prosper in this
Yeah.
time. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about financially, emotionally,
Yep.
health-wise,
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
the relationships, like you were talking about, just that wholeness in terms of what real health looks like. Like,
Yep.
it's happening, but it is only happening for people, I think, in a manifested space that is happening here first. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to agree with Sheila.
Yeah.
I'm going to invite you to shift your thinking about
Yeah.
the pandemic. Like, there's no shortage, there's
Mm.
no
Oh, no.
there's no loss, there's no
No.
competition on the spiritual
No.
plane. Like, all these
No.
all these limits
Yeah.
that we
No.
have created to keep us from the good that God has for us, they're not there. They're self-imposed, right? They're thoughts. They're not even
Absolutely.
real. So
Right.
I'm with that all day long. It
Yeah.
is a phenomenal, phenomenal
Yeah.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it goes back to something you said at the very beginning that stuck with me and that resonated with me, is it all starts with a decision.
Yes.
Okay. The decision
Yeah.
that I will, prosper in this time.
Yes.
When you make that decision, it impacts how you think too. You know,
Thank
and and as it impacts what you think, it opens up possibilities, because you're in a space that allows the possibilities to come to you to help to meet what you're talking about that you want, right? It causes you to focus in
Yes.
the direction to bring about your vision and to bring about that prosperity in the pandemic, as you say,
You know,
Stephanie.
it's so ironic. We went into this year, we were even at the end of last year, 2020 vision, 2020 vision.
Yes, yes.
Baby, when I tell you that this thing has brought a keenness and a
Yeah.
clarity of vision that
Yes,
I
it
don't
has.
think would have come to us any other way other than
Yes.
through, what is happening, what is
That's
unfolding
right.
around us.
That's right.
All these really cute little flyers and 2020 vision, 20, I can see clear. Baby, you thought you could see clear.
Exactly. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
come up out of this. If you don't come up out of this better, I'm worried. I'm
Exactly.
going to send them to you toward your private practice and say you need professional help if you
Yeah.
grow through this phase.
Absolutely.
So, Sheila, as we, close out our conversation tonight, I know that you are going to be offering some free gifts to viewers for being with us tonight. So, talk a little bit about the free gift, guys. You'll see going across the screen that you can text Turning Point to 366-814-9840. So, Sheila, when listeners do that, what can they expect to get?
All right, guys. What I have for you is a workbook that I put together. It's called Unleashing the Power to Love Yourself. And it's just a workbook that you can just take some time to kind of go through and reflect. There are coaching questions that it will take you through in every area of your life to assess where you are and how you can begin to love yourself even more. Because as we talked about, before you can really even be fully who you're called to be and really at the highest level love someone else, you've got to love yourself, love God, love yourself, and then you can love others. So it's a workbook. If you turn that text Turning Point to 336-814-9840, then I will send you a copy of that. And I think you'll really enjoy it.
Oh, wow. So amazing. So make sure that you go there to get your free copy of the workbook. Also, if you want to know more about Sheila Reynolds and her work and the impact and some of her upcoming events and what she's got going on moving out of 2020 into 2021, go to her website, SheilaReynolds.com. Again, SheilaReynolds.com. Sheila, we are closing, girl. We are down to 57 minutes. We are doing good. You have one closing thought. What advice would you give to listeners, those women that may be listening that are finding themselves, that are just, just stuck, this idea of what they feel is their stuckness? One word, one piece of advice you got to pour into them.
Girl, I can't just do one word, but I'm going to do my best, Lord God, because I got two words for them. Because the first thing, that came to me is something that you said previously, Stephanie. Some of you that are listening, it's important that you be gentle with yourself. If you are one of those persons that's used to, being a mover and a shaker, and you find yourself like, what is going on? Things aren't just really working for me right now. The word for you is to be gentle with yourself and just relax and just be gentle with yourself. The word for me this year has been surrender. I've had to learn how to surrender, and surrendering was a piece of me just letting it go and allowing myself to be okay with where things were and trusting that I was going to get to where I was called to be. And I know we only got a minute, so I can't give my second word, but consistency for those of you out there.
Cool things that you said, guys, about being gentle with yourself as we close out this session tonight. Be gentle. Like I said, there is a fine balance between support and pressure. So make sure that you're giving yourself both, because you need both. And then I would reiterate what Sheila said about surrender, learning to just surrender, being okay with where you are in the process, because it is a process. It is ever unfolding and evolving. Sheila, it has been amazing having you here with me tonight. I hope that those of you that are listening have enjoyed the broadcast tonight. I hope you're able to take away something that was shared during our conversation tonight. I want to wish you a happy holiday. It is actually the holidays. We are here. My Christmas tree is up. The carols are going. We are getting ready to go into holiday mode. So have a great time with friends and family next week. Sheila, thank you. I love you. It's been great
you, and I love you.
And guys, I'll catch up with you next time on Propel. Thank you so much for watching.